Hey, good morning again. Still Wednesday. Thought I'd go ahead and read another section because last one was kind of short. So, still in Matthew 7 at verse 15, and still got the coffee. Beware of the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You will know them by their fruits. Grapes are not gathered from thorn bushes, nor figs from thistles, are they? So every good tree bears good fruit, but the bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot produce bad fruit, nor can a bad tree produce good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. So then, you will know them by their fruits. And Jesus is telling us about the hypocrites of his day, the ones who would say they were this or that they were that, but in reality they weren't actually trying to lead the people to know Jesus or to know God. They were basically just covering over their own deeds, trying to amass their own fame, their own wealth. And we have that nowadays. And I would say that this still applies today. We have sheep covered wolves that are still around the flock, taking advantage of Christians that, well, just aren't checking close enough. But I want to kind of put a different spin on it. The spin I'd put on it is check ourselves. There's a lot of talk in Christian circles about being fruit inspectors and knowing who's who by the fruit that they bear. But how often do we look down at our own fruit? What am I producing? What am I doing here? Am I doing something that glorifies God today? Do I look more like Jesus if I look in the mirror today? I'm not saying that, find out if you're saved or not saved. Hopefully you are saved. Hopefully by those last couple verses, you are on that narrow way, going through the narrow gate. But check yourself every once in a while. Make sure you're still producing that good fruit. And if you're not, find out why. Maybe there's branches that need pruned off. And that's one of those things that, we'll read later about how Jesus is vine and we're just the branches. Make sure you're grafted in well. Make sure that you are bearing fruit. If you got something on you that needs pruned, ask God to prune it. Because it's all about bearing that fruit and bringing glory to Him. So just throwing that last piece in there. It's great to look at somebody else and see if they're bearing fruit or not. You should do that. Check your circles. Make sure you're hanging out with people that glorify God. But at the same time, make sure you're doing it. Make sure there's nothing you don't need to get pruned off. All right. I'm going to leave you with that one this time. Stay safe, stay free.